Good evening. Welcome all to the August 16th regular meeting of the Town of Easton Planning and Zoning Board. In keeping with an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16th, 2021, this meeting will be conducted remotely over Zoom. Attendance by board members will be remote, and remote attendance shall count towards a quorum. The meeting will be broadcast live and recorded on ECAT. To use Zoom, follow the link on the agenda or download the application. While conducting meetings remotely, we will endeavor to keep meeting operations as close to our stated procedures as possible. However, use of this platform will necessitate some additional meeting protocols. While board members and applicants will be on video and audio, public participants will join the webinar as an attendee, meaning they are muted with no video feed from them. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, members of the public can be recognized by using the raise hand function found under participants button on Zoom, or may use the request with the Q&A function. If joining by phone, individual can press *9 to raise their hand. There are further, board members are asked to announce themselves by name when making a motion and a second, so that is clear to the audience and minute takers. All votes will be by roll call. There are further instructions or information on the planning board agenda listed on the front page of the town's website on the calendar. To ensure that we have a quorum, we will take a voice roll call. Strange here.
Shane here.
That's in here.
Anderson here.
Eric here.
Great. I think that was everyone. So first up, we have a request to continue Sawmill Village, 560 Foundry Street to September 13th, 2021. If someone could make that motion.
Motion to continue Sawmill Village to September 13th.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor? Strange eye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Eric, aye.
Great, it's unanimous. Thank you. Next up, continued public hearing for 8 Lincoln Street, special permit mixed use. Oh, this is the school. Okay, so with an abundance of caution, I don't think I need to, but I'm going to recuse myself since I've been designing the homes at Weber Farms. So Stephanie, so I have to blank my screen, so someone could just text me when I can jump back in. I appreciate it.
Will do.
Thank you.
And is this the one where we need to read the notice?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Pull it up. That's right. I had it there and then went somewhere. Okay, Town of Easton notice of public hearing. In accordance with the provisions of Chapter 41, Section 81-T MGL, the Easton Planning and Zoning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, July 26, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. to be held remotely on the application received from Douglas A. King for a special permit mixed use under Easton Town Code, Chapter 235 zoning, 235-56 special permits, and Appendix A-2 special zoning districts, table of use regulations, principal uses 5, mixed use, village business districts, footnote 5, to allow the creation of 8 additional residential housing units and 1 mixed use unit at 8 Lincoln Street in Easton, Massachusetts. Assessors map 16U lot 98. The meeting will be conducted remotely via Zoom. The virtual meeting link will be contained within the proposed agenda at least 48 hours in advance of the meeting. A copy of the application and plan may be viewed on the town website. This notice is also available at masspublicnotices.org. Gregory Strange, Chair. All right, Stephanie, would you want to start this out, or should we see who's here from the?
Okay, we have
applicant?
Sam Schofield. Sam, is anyone else here with you? I see someone named as member. I don't know.
Doug King is here in the room with me.
Okay,
I believe also maybe Attorney Jim Burke might be coming in.
okay, I do see Attorney Burke.
And Vinny from the YMCA.
Okay. So Mr. Vice Chair, my suggestion is to let Sam do a presentation and then I can go over some of my comments.
All right, sure. Go ahead, Sam.
Mr. Chairman, if it's okay, I'll go ahead and start the presentation for Mr. King. That's what he hires me for.
Mhm. Okay,
With your permission then, Mr. Chairman, members of the planning board, my name is Jim Burke. I'm an attorney at law with office at 48 North Pearl Street in Brockton, Massachusetts. And I thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I represent the interest of Doug King, Douglas A. King Builders, and in this instance, the King Schoolhouse Easton LLC. By history, Mr. King developed the property at 8 Lincoln Street, which you all know, securing a variance back in 2003 or slightly earlier than that, 1999 actually. And at that time finished and completed a renovation of historic site, the old schoolhouse, in which he constructed 30 residential units. For that work, and in conjunction with the assistance of the Historical Commission in town, he received a Massachusetts Historical Preservation Award for the work done on this particular facility. Mr. King proceeded to dedicate the property to a condominium status, and in fact owns all 30 of the existing units at 8 Lincoln Street. The COVID problem affected one of the tenants because there are 38 individual units within the project as authorized by the variance, and one separate gymnasium, which in fact was deeded to the Old Colony Y, who has operated and functioned there since 2003. They have 8,620 square feet, which is roughly about 11% of the condominium area. The Y has throughout the years utilized the property and the gymnasium for various functions, including basketball, athletics, gymnastic events, and other issues. As a result of the impact of the COVID problem, it has greatly affected the revenue of the Y, resulting in a substantial loss, as many nonprofit institutions have experienced. And they have reached the determination it is in their best interest to go ahead and sell the project or the property, which is the current gymnasium, to Mr. King for purposes of this petition. What he seeks to do is to be granted relief by this planning board by special permit in the footnote 5 of the village district to authorize the addition of 8 additional single bedroom units at the property. If you look at the requirements of the section, it basically suggests that based on the 108,000 square feet of property, basically you're allowed roughly 2,500 square feet per unit, approximately 43 developable units at this property. Here, we're basically requesting that the planning board consider granting 38. In terms of parking, the parking requirement based on the bylaw, and I hope I haven't lost anybody, but can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I just lost a picture. I apologize, but we can work through that. Basically, the parking requirement is 49 required units, of which we are providing 70. In short, we think this is an exceptional project for the town of Easton. The mixed use portion of the project, in addition to the 8 residential units, will be operated by a nonprofit corporation, Wings of Hope, that is basically a well-known an outstanding association in Easton, which is dedicated to fighting substance abuse for children and for others. That particular project will roughly be a 500 square foot facility, which would meet the requirements clearly of a mixed use project under the ordinance. The relief requested, as identified and we indicated footnote 5, basically suggests that the board consider roughly 5 or 6 different criteria in reaching your conclusion. First, the social, economic, or community needs that are served by the proposal. The applicant will construct a quality renovation, will take a nonprofit use and convert it to the Easton tax base. The Old Colony Y is a nonprofit entity, and therefore, since it acquired ownership in 2003, has not been paying taxes to the town of Easton. We would, upon acquisition and renovation, return the property into the tax base, which we believe would equate to roughly about $16,000 a year of additional revenue. The impacts of a single family unit will be absolutely negligible on town services, certainly not your school district, and have minimal impacts on police, fire, and other town services. Traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading, is a criteria for this board to consider. The 8 residential units will have a de minimis impact on the traffic flow and should not have a negative impact on traffic safety. In fact, if members of this board go back a few years pre-COVID, you may recall that the activities at the Y, especially in the peak afternoon and early evening hours, had a significant impact in the local area with the rapid, infusion of vehicles for a brief period of time for the gymnastics as well as the athletic and other services that were submitted by the Y to the community. Here, you will basically have 8 additional traffic impacts for 8 additional single family property owners that will not even come close to having the impact that the prior use did. In fact, it would be a reduction and therefore benefit to the surrounding area. Third consideration for the board is the adequacy of utilities and other public services. Here, we already have all utilities in sight and no additional public services or utilities are required to make the connection that is not already there for the mixed use project. Neighborhood character and social structures. As indicated, the applicant, through its award-winning preservation project, has had a positive impact in the character of the neighborhood. The character will be further enhanced by completing necessary repairs to the gymnasium that the Y is not in a position to make in terms of the exterior facade. The construction of the 8 additional units and 1 mixed use will not change the footprint or the exterior facade of the structure. You will now have additional residents who will be making use of the services within the village district. The walking distance from a business establishment like the Farmer's Daughter is roughly 5 minutes, providing a mixed-use marriage of residents and customers. Basically, there is nothing but a win-win, I think, if the board were to consider granting this proposal in terms of benefiting the village district and adding to the additional necessary housing in the community. Next criteria is the impacts on natural environment, and there will be no impacts on the natural environment created by this mature project, which will not exceed its basic footprints. The last criteria is the potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax-based employment, taking into account any proposed mitigation. We've touched on that. We're taking a a property that is basically in a non-taxable situation as a nonprofit, and we're converting it into a fiscal positive impact in the community, and at the same time having minimal impact on any town services. I'll let Sam go ahead and identify the basic specifics of the project, and we can talk in terms of questions relating to findings of the board later on. But I thank you for your allowing me to make the presentation. And Sam, if you would go ahead and identify how the project would proceed.
Good evening. My name is Sam Schofield. I'm from Doug King Builders. As Jim has already told you, kind of give you an overall what's going on here. So we'll be adding 8 more additional units to this existing 30-unit apartment complex, and we'll be adding the one commercial space for Wings of Hope. And after meeting with the fire department, I had a meeting with them on July 27th. We had a site walk and we looked at some other concerns they had, and we adjusted the site plan. So the parking is now at 63, not 67. That's still well above our 49 that are required. We moved with the fire department, and we had a fire lane along the back of the building, eliminating 4 spaces. So that's why we have a parking lot, the number change. We also just added some additional striping around the front main entry area that he required. And then along with this, they were happy because our upgrades, their fire alarm is a little choppy right now between the 2 buildings, between the YMCA and our existing building apartments. So now we'll meld the 2 systems so they work together. The building already has fire suppression, and obviously we'll have to modify that for this new use. And what else we got going on? So we did the phone. And then also, I also uploaded a plan recently that also showed the accessibility. I think one of the questions was there an elevator in the building, and where was in relationship to the new units? And if you look at one of the footprint plans I uploaded, it shows the existing elevator, the external ramp that'll go to Wings of Hope to access their commercial area, and how far it is down the hall there to the space. So both floors will be connected to this existing elevator through the existing hall system. So that shouldn't be an issue. We will not be changing any of the pavement areas. There really no change to the landscape. Just we have not met with the historical commission yet, but we are not changing any of the facade along the Barrow Street area. Only thing we're doing to the facade on the sides is adding some windows to enhance for egress and for lighting in the units. If you look through the photos, you'll see that those walls are pretty blank and bare right now. There is a few existing smaller windows that we'll remove and make them larger. And it'll be on both sides of the east and west side of the gymnasium. Besides that, on the outside, you really won't note any other change. There's no other additional stairways going in or entrances. We're using everything that's existing. I know another question that came up was about material drop-offs. There is an existing area in front of the gym that is fenced in. We're going to use that as our staging area. And there's an actual drop-off there that we'll use for material drop-off, so it won't affect traffic on Barrow Street. We also have a couple of garages that are already existing, that we have 2 of them that are empty that we can also use for material storage. So we will try to really minimize what we have on the ground out there, disturbing our tenants.
Sam, can I interrupt you for a moment, Mr. Chair? Can you see my screen with, am I showing plans?
Yes, we can see them.
Okay. Sam, if you want to reference the plans, I didn't know if you had them to share or not.
No, I'm on the wrong computer. And actually, except for the site plan one, that is not the updated one because it doesn't show the file.
Correct. Was that uploaded on?
It was.
You guys?
Yep.
When was it uploaded?
Just the other day.
Okay. If I don't know it's uploaded, I don't necessarily know to go find it.
Yeah, because I clicked on the site plan on Permitize, and it still had the parking in the rear of the building, I think, which was might have been changed. Or is that not on the newer plan either?
This is the
That's the
original
old version.
plan that was submitted.
because along the southern property line, almost where a cursor, just below cursor, that you see pocket spots 64 through 67. Those are the ones that have been removed for a fire lane right there.
Okay,
And basically, there was no other real change. There was just that was striped, and all the different areas were striped on this plan. The next one, I can't get into my other screen to see.
And Stephanie, were you pointing out the existing structures? Is that where you sort of led into showing the plan?
well, as Sam was talking, I just thought it would be helpful to be able to point
Okay,
things out. I mean, these are the floor plans. One of my comments was, and Sam mentioned the loading area, was where would they be loading the materials for the fit out of or build out of the new units? And where would, how would vehicles come in? Because you have limited access through this entrance, of course, in parking area. And then you have your other entrance through here with parking.
So the one that you have near Barrow Street, that's parking lot there, that one will be reserved just for residents. We won't use that at all for construction. So
Mhm.
if you go a little to your left, Stephanie, that area with the two little trees, yeah, right, a little right. That the one that has the two little trees there, and and you go a little up. There's that. You see how the curb comes in
Are you,
there? That would be our staging
Yeah.
area right in there. And then just north of that, a little up, will be that's the drop-off zone right there. There's a little indent on the pavement already, right in that area that we use to drop materials off.
I would like to see that marked on the plan.
It is. It's on that revised plan.
Okay,
It says staging area. It says drop-off.
okay,
The parking lot, that the first one you come to there on the left side, our tenants park more down near the garage. So we do have some area there that are not used, like parking spaces 25 through 30 are pretty vacant most of the days. So we can block those off too as an area for us to use for construction vehicles. We also
Yes.
have two of those garages that are also available for us to use.
Sam and Stephanie, let's just point out to the public that there'll be a time for public comment, so we can,
yes,
we or the applicant can help address any public questions, but.
I did send a chat to that effect just a few minutes ago.
So anyone is welcome to submit questions right now, but it's not a question and answer process throughout while the applicant, presents, gives their presentation. All right, so you guys go ahead. I just wanted to make sure that, as I kept seeing more and more comments pop up.
Okay. What did we have? The Y had 6 spaces. Yeah, so initially on what the Y used to have is they used to have 6 spaces on that site. When that first entrance you came in, they had spaces, it looks like 42, 43, 25, 26, and 27. So obviously we'll be getting those ones back into our count. And I think they had used some additional parking across the street that's the town's land there.
Mhm.
That we end up building back in the original renovation. I think that's pretty much all my points at this point. If the board has any questions for me.
Yep. Stephanie, do you have more comments or?
Yeah, let me just go through quickly. So, accessibility, the one thing, and I had talked with Sam about this before, I'm going to the floor plans. I did not see elevators. And I think, Sam, what you explained was that this floor plan just shows the new units. It doesn't show the full building, and that there is an elevator that makes it the building accessible to everyone.
Correct. On one of the forms that I uploaded the other day actually shows a plan that was actually the old condo as-built we had for the building. And I called out the elevator location on there and the proposed units location, and it also shows the ramp that's going into the Wings of Hope space.
Okay.
Highlighted on there.
Make a note of that. Generally the zoning and mix of uses, it does comply with the regulations. It also meets some of the goals of the master plan for this traditional village area that calls for modest infill development supporting the viability of the core mixed-use area and surrounding neighborhoods. And by preserving the building and having it actively used in this way, that helps ensure the ongoing preservation of a historical structure. I agree with what Mr. Attorney Burke said about traffic flow and parking. I think that it will have a de minimis effect on the traffic in the area, especially when you think about what traffic was like and parking was like during the YMCA events previously. And then one of the comments, the Affordable Housing Trust was asking if any of the units are intended to be affordable.
No, we're joining up here with Wings of Hope. That was our contribution to the community.
Okay. And then as Sam was talking about, there will be some window changes and some others. There is a preservation restriction on the property. And they were supposed to meet with the Historical Commission last week. Unfortunately, there was a problem with the Zoom meeting. And I think the next meeting, they rescheduled that already. Is that correct, Sam?
I have not received the date yet.
Okay. So you'll probably be hearing from Wayne Beitler tomorrow about that. And then you mentioned you have met with fire.
Correct.
And you have addressed any of the questions they have.
Yeah. I also said, if you take that off the screen, I can show you I just pulled down the revised site plan. So this is the revised site plan. You see here, this is the filings I was talking about that were added, removing those 4 spaces. This was already marked a fire lane. We added that. He had me add the striping in this zone for more about fire lane. He had this push strip here, making sure cars won't park along the sidewalk on this existing parking lot. This is our main entrance right here to the building. Here is where we have the staging area that, like I said, there's an existing fence that runs along this right now. And we have this area right in this spot here that we can use for drop off of materials. So it won't block the pathway. Because as everybody remembers, is the Framingham Hall's parking lot is right up in here. And I have the other plan too. Give me 1 second. Let me just download it.
Yeah, I think since we're looking at the plans, if any board members have questions related to the plan or the project, we can sort of kind of jump in if you want, or I mean, I have a few questions too, but I didn't want to just go. Do any other board members have any questions or comments?
And this here is the other one I was talking about, the accessibility plan. So you see here, this is the existing elevator. Here's our front door. That small parking area is here. You walk in into the vestibule area, you go up to the elevator and go down to the other units. There was the ramp that I was talking about into the Wings of Hope area. And the same thing, this is the 2nd floor plan to show the elevator comes up to that floor. And that would be the connection, the new connection.
So what are the Wings of Hope? What's there? It's like an office space. Is that?
Yeah, they'll have 500 square feet of office space in the former gym area. As you might be aware of them, that they help preventing youth substance abuse. Presently, they're going to rent this place free of charge from Doug as a donation.
Okay, could you please go back to the main site plan?
Yes.
So where are the Wings of Hope? Well, where are they?
Right in this area, right here's that ramp going up. I know it's kind of a different rotation, but here's the ramp going up. And
yeah, that's the old side entrance to like where
correct.
The basketball or much of the gymnasium.
Correct.
And how about the residents? Where do they enter?
They'll have an entrance. This is the main entry here with the elevator that would be located right in this area. So they'll have that hall coming this way. There's also from the existing building has its front doors that will Stephanie, if you stop sharing, we put up, hold on, put the other plan up there, the floor plans,
You want me, okay, hold on.
instead of me going.
Yeah, I mean, looks like there are other questions and kind of a little, kind of onto what we were just talking about, is like the Wings of Hope, is there an office and substance abuse treatment here, or what's the purpose of it?
No, this is their office for all the administrative stuff.
If I could speak, Wings of Hope does not do substance abuse treatment or programming. They're an educational, is my understanding. They're educating people on the issue of substance abuse, how to seek help, how to look for problems within the family, and then direct them.
Yeah, that was my understanding too, but I just wasn't,
Yeah,
the questions were coming up and they're good questions, so I thought I'd
yeah.
talk about while we were there.
You can see their space there. They're the one of the blue area, right where the mark cursor is now. You can see people, you were asking about how they would come to the area. You can see how it comes through that hallway from the where cursor going to the white area there. That's the main
Okay.
hall, the elevator. You go into the brown area to the common hallway. And then there will still be the historical front entry doors that will still be operational to some stairwells there in the front of the building.
All right, and so then there's the existing walkway goes from this, I call it the side, I guess that's the southern side, the southern parking lot. There's an existing walkway that goes along the front of the building and around the back. That's
Yes,
what
yeah,
most-
that's existing.
This,
Correct, that there. And there's also, if you see, there's a stairwell to the rear of the building, all the way to the right, the lower right corner. That stairwell also goes all the way to the second floor and comes out at that lower end of it's kind of a hill going down. So that comes out into the parking lot, and you also can access the parking spaces from there too. And that's where the dumpster is located, on the back corner there.
And what about, say that, so this is there's no real landscaping plan. You're just showing what's existing, and that's how it's proposed to stay.
Yes, we just propose to keep it as is. There's pretty much just a grass area with a couple of trees in it.
Yep, and then on that southern parking lot side, behind the existing shed, there's is there a tree line there?
All along that shed behind the dumpster, and then along that southern town line, southern property line, and then up along the western property line, you'll see there's a fence there behind the garages. It goes all the way up. All that in there is either wooded or it has some landscaping in it, existing, growth of. So I think up near where cursor is now is some pines in there that now, been there since renovated, so they're pretty old growth.
All right, so
For good screening.
yeah, so that's sort of the kind of the most direct, newest impact as far as people coming in and out of here like all times of day, rather than those busy basketball times, right? So
Well, that parking lot is already used by our present residents also. They park down there. So there are cars going out of there.
oh, yeah, right, yeah, but that usually during more normal business hours, whatever.
Well, no,
those
I'm saying our tenants, the actual residents use
are.
that.
Oh, I see. Oh, yeah.
So there's always, I'm trying to say, you're saying it's a new active, but it's actually already an active parking lot.
Okay.
So our residents do park down there and use that back entrance stairwell.
Sam, what's the stairwell on the west side of the building that drops into the parking lot? I see that being converted to an electrical room.
There's already an existing electrical room there. So if you, Stephanie's panning, you can go either way. You want to go to the floor plans, that's fine.
is it, well,
So you
Yeah,
see,
down on the
Stephanie,
bottom.
which,
Either
So-
one.
keep going, Stephanie. All right, so you see unit 2, Stephanie, right where your cursor is?
right,
If you go a little to the right there, it says electrical room, a few things over right there. That's an existing electrical room. That will remain electrical room. And then there's a laundry room that's on the first floor that's next to that. Then the hallway, then that's the stair that goes down outside. And that ends up, if you go back to the site plan out near that where the dumpster is. In kind of where the dumpster is on the bottom there, near parking space. Is that 58? So it comes out right at that corner there. That's southwest corner. That's where the stairwell pops out.
okay, right.
Just a little to the left, right there. Perfect.
And as far as the, design and the window changes, I guess, are the main design changes that,
Correct. That would be the biggest change to the building would be the windows. And we're going to use the same window manufacturer that we used during the renovation of that building back in the early 2000s. And they also the one that did the windows here at 115 Main Street, our main office, was also a historical renovation.
okay. Yep, so when's the meeting with historical scheduled? Oh, was it a meeting with historical? Or
I think Sam said he hasn't, I know that Wayne was working on that on Friday, trying to come up with a date so that they could keep moving this along.
Okay,
We
yeah.
were meet with them last week, but they had a technical glitch.
Yeah, so for these type of special permits, we commonly, review the more kind of final design plan. So probably, at least keep things open until that's kind of a little closer to being finalized with them.
I mean, I guess the question is, Sam, what they're reviewing is primarily the proposed window changes, right?
Correct.
And making sure that they're consistent with the preservation restriction. So I don't know that anything coming out of that meeting would change it certainly wouldn't change the site plan. I wouldn't expect that. And
So we'd basically be deferring any architectural review to the historical in that sense.
it's essentially, yes. Do you want to see the elevations? I believe they
Yeah, that'd be good.
have those. Oops. Oh, wait a minute, I have those in another file. There we go. So this is the front entrance. And this is the old gym, right? And that's where the new units are being built out. Is there anything new along here? The window treatment here, it's on the side, right?
Those are existing. Yeah, those are existing windows. The present apartment. So this shows you here. Is here thing to... So we have on that middle too is we have some existing photos. So there are windows on the top now, but they're not quite as large as what's shown there. And the same thing on the bottom. Those are a lot smaller windows that exist below those. Now we're enlarging those to more full-size windows. Everything over near where the electrical room door is that you see there, and the windows to the right of that are all existing. There's nothing changing there.
So
So
the
is
side, oops, I'm sorry.
So it's kind of those 4 bays on the left that are changing.
Correct. Yeah, those top and bottom windows right there.
Yeah, looking at a Google Maps picture, the bottom windows right now are pretty small.
Yeah, they're pretty small. And that one that's all the way to the left side is the existing window also.
Yep, I see that.
Was there a picture of the existing with the elevation? Because I know I've seen it.
Yes, that was something I submitted also as a PDF that showed all the existing elevations.
But was it a separate file? I might not have it.
Yes.
Yeah. No, sorry.
I might be able, I can go and try
Yeah,
to.
can you share it? I'll stop sharing.
Yep. Do any other board members have questions?
Just give me one more second.
It appears that the second floor units have a loft as well.
Yes, correct. this is not my regular computer, so. For some reason, it's not popping me up those ones.
What is that drawing going to show, Sam?
It's something on the building plans on the file. It says exterior pictures. I don't know. It's not letting me share them at this moment.
I'm gonna share my screen real quick just so you can see the side of the building we're talking about.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah.
So it's these windows are getting larger as well as these four up here. These bays.
Yeah, so that's us looking at the west side of the building.
So this would be where the unloading unit would be, and the staging areas in this fenced area.
Correct. You can see the existing turnout right there.
I don't have any other questions.
Me neither.
There you go. I can share the.
Okay. All right, so we had a couple of comments. I mean, we'll open it up for the public to ask questions or provide comments, but we can look at a few of the existing comments here. One was about traffic. So 8 units, so that could be around more like 8 additional cars, or maybe 16 if there were couples living at these. That does make sense. And I think I agree with Stephanie that the traffic impact will be similar or less than some of maybe the peak times that when the Y was operating and the basketball games that I had attended, but that is without.
Yeah, I
Yes,
think
Peter, but it is more than what is today, okay?
Oh, say that again, please.
It is more traffic, more people, and more density than what they have today.
Mhm.
So compared with a year ago when the Y was operating, but the Y is not operating for a long time now
Mhm.
on this level.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with that, even though I don't have any data about with that.
Well, is that significant? It doesn't seem to be, but the people
does kind of bring up
this
a little-
neighborhood
yeah.
might think differently.
So, Sam, is there adequate lighting on that side, or is there any new proposed lighting?
Yes, there's existing street lights over there, parking lot lights. LED, we would not be adding any additional lights. It's not necessary at this time. If you look on the site plan, you actually see there's 3 of them running along the western line of the property. She got this.
We talked about the Wings of Hope. There has a daily vehicle count has not been done. Is that correct? Or there's no traffic study has been done, or no existing or previous conditions to traffic studies. So
No,
no.
no. And again, I'm not sure it warrants a traffic study for the number of additional units that they're adding.
Yeah. So the rest are sort of maybe a little more subjective, and anyone that wants to talk about their ideas about town services for kids or anything else, send out to the public now. So Stephanie, if anyone wants to raise their hand. And
There is, we have, I need to get back there. Sam, whoever's sharing their screen, if they could stop just for a second, it makes it easier for me to find people.
Peter, could I just chime in for one clarification?
Sure.
Sam, is this, is the 500 square foot office space the only commercial space in this building, or proposed to be? I'm sorry, I missed you there.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so that's how it retains its mixed use character under the bylaw?
Yeah, under the village district bylaw, correct.
Okay.
Bob, if I could just, I don't think it was mixed use before. That's a new special permit you're seeking, right?
Correct,
Is mixed use.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's sort of funny. I guess I didn't even realize that that this building, or maybe we talked about it, but in all the discussions we had about the village district, I didn't specifically even remember this building was part of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I thought about that
Okay,
too.
I'm going to allow the
It's
person.
creative. It's not sure we contemplated a 500 square foot office space as part of a development like this when we were looking at the bylaw changes, but it's creative. I don't see any issues with it.
So I have allowed the person who had their hand raised, they're identified as member. They need to identify themselves, state their name for the record and their address.
They're also currently muted.
Member, if you would like to speak, please unmute yourself. And
My name is Mary Lynch. I'm at 85 Summer Street in Easton.
Oh, Mary, you're on for the next meeting.
Oh,
I think, right?
You're welcome to speak
You're
if
here
you
for
would like.
81 Summer Street.
okay.
Yeah, this is,
Okay.
we're still on
I'm
8
going
Lincoln.
to mute you.
Okay.
See, lower your hand.
I do have a question. If is the commercial use any use commercial? It can be this office, it can be a store, it can be anything, or there are limitations to that.
The zoning bylaw for this district identifies mixed use. It doesn't limit the type of commercial activity.
Yeah, we could construct our decision, with different parameters in mind. Were there
Alright.
more?
Like Glenn Smith just raised his hand, so
Okay.
I'm allowing that person to, okay.
Hello, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
And Mr. Chair, if
so-
you could if Glenn could just repeat his name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Glenn Smith. I live at 16 Barrow Street. I am arguably the one who will be affected most by this because my property is directly next to the gymnasium. So right now, I think we have 11 single-family homes on Barrow Street, and by my count, I might be off by 1. 17 children under the age of 18. There's not a week that goes by where someone on our street is not screaming at one of the current guests of that building for staring at their phone as they take a right onto Barrow Street. No one stops there. They just simply take a right. Someday that could be my child riding his bike down Barrow Street that gets hit by a car. That could happen anywhere, obviously. But we have, 36 units. We're going to potentially add 8 more. That's 40 something units. So that's, potentially 60, 70, 80 cars that are going up the street, down the street all day long. This is a small, tiny road in the suburbs. Like it is quiet for the most part, at night, early in the morning. But then once the senior center kicks in, the traffic is out of control. Everyone thinks the traffic's not a big deal. Oh, there used to be the gymnasium there. And there certainly were times of the day where it was a lot busier when the basketball games would kick in. And that used to drive me crazy because people would block my driveway parking on Barrows. But it was an hour. I knew when to avoid it. And now I have a 5 and a 6-year-old. My kids are always playing in the driveway. They're always playing on Barrow Street. And there is just cars zooming up and down all day, every day. Now I will not be able to have my windows open in my bedroom because I'm going to have construction out there. I'm going to be having doors opening and closing all day long. Takes away from the quietness that I kind of expected of this neighborhood. The Wings of Hope is a whole different story. I think you guys did a pretty good job of explaining that is not going to be an issue with substance abusers, loitering outside prior to meetings. And when, I have my sympathies for them, but in a quiet neighborhood, the last thing I want to do is be seeing substance abusers waiting outside of their, before their meeting smoking cigarettes or whatever. But that's neither here nor there. Right now, we don't have a one-way. There's a one-way from Lincoln Street, but every resident of this apartment complex can go into their parking lot and drive right back down Barrow Street, which is what everyone seems to do, because taking a right or left at the end of Barrows is not a very easy task as it is. You're basically putting your life in your hands. And that really concerns me. There could be 500 cars going up and down past my house every single day on this. Maybe 500 is an exaggeration, but every single day flying up and down past my street. Past my house. We have the senior center, we have the shuttle buses going out, we have the vaccinations going on. We have so many things constantly going on this tiny little street. So to add potential of 16 more, as well as whoever's working at the Wings of Hope, like, I have a lot of concerns with that. Oakland Street's falling apart. That road is a disaster. I have a lot of concerns, and I feel like it's easier for members to say the traffic was negligible. It's not as bad as it was in the past. Well, I live here. I beg to differ. It's a big deal to me. So I just wanted to make that known, because I certainly have a lot of concerns with this.
Just to clarify,
And that's basically all I had.
Just to clarify on that, we have existing 30 units. We're adding 8, so it'll be a total of 38 units plus the 1 commercial. Just clarification on the unit count. The traffic thing, like I said, because of what the town does there with their buildings, also, it's tough to distinguish if it's our residents. You seem to be generalized on that. And some of it could be also the town residents that are going to the Framingham Mall, except for vaccination. Actually, we see more of our tenants not as mobile right now because they're working from home. We don't know where this will go with COVID in the future here. We hope for the best, and maybe people be going back to work. So our trip counts are very low to begin with. It's maybe out in the morning and back in the evening. 31. And we're also for the 1 bedrooms, hopefully to minimize that we don't have a total of 16 new cars. That'll be something less than that. So I think when the town with those, it's more about like a 1.25 or 1.5 kind of count.
Definitely, Glenn has his hand raised again.
Oh, sorry. We also, we have Chris Lopes has his hand raised. Chris just put his down.
I figured Glenn was just here, so I figured.
Yep, sorry.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, can you identify yourself for the record and your address, please?
Sure, my name is Chris Lopes. I live at 10 Lincoln Street. I'm on the other side of Greg, so I definitely concur with what Greg is saying. I did write 30 and not 36, but I do agree with him. There's a lot of traffic, even now. I mean, there's a lot of moving vehicles that come in and out, plus the Amazon trucks, UPS, et cetera. I mean, we all use it, but because it's such a small proximity, that the street, that the traffic is significant. Actually, at the end of the street, going down towards Frothingham, I think a few of the cars, every now and then, they lose their mirrors because it's so tight, the street proximity from one side to the other, so it's really tight. But I would disagree that we don't need a traffic a survey, only because we have the shovel shop there now. Now we're going to add additional units. So this population over the last probably 5+ years has increased significantly. And the other thing, I do have a lot of concerns about Wings of Hope, because I used to be a chairman of a Mount Hope Neighborhood Association in Providence, Rhode Island. And the concern that I have is once you mix use and they start using the offices, you really can't control what they use that office for unless you stipulate in the contract what it's going to be used for. So to say that they won't have substance abuse people in there for classes, et cetera, I don't know if I totally buy that. And how would you protect the tenants, especially like Greg, who lives right there, me that lives on the other side, and then you have folks right across the street. And if we're not home, then our house becomes accessible potentially to folks that are abusing drugs and trying to support their habits. I did also, you mentioned $16,000 per year for taxes, which is really insignificant when you look at the overall tax base of Easton. $16,000 additional. I don't know if it's worth jeopardizing people's livelihood. The way it's structured today, I do want to give credit to Doug King and what they've done. But again, we also have other residents that live here as well. And we need to find a balance between the residents and opportunity. And I hope you guys take that into consideration. Based on what I'm hearing from you, it sounds like you may rule in that in the favor of the ordinance, but I would just ask that you consider that. And again, we live here, so when you talk about the YMCA and the traffic, I mean, they park near Greg, they park near me, they park near other folks as well, and we weren't too concerned. I don't even think we jumped on a call when conversations came up about it, but we do definitely have concerns because 8 units, 2 people per unit, plus they have guests that come to visit because everybody has friends. So I'm assuming that they'll have people that come over and where they're going to park as well. So we're really going to have a significant increase. And like Greg was saying, there's a lot of children on the street as well. My children are older now, and I'm thankful to Easton, but their children are just starting it, and we don't want to expose them to significant risk. Thank you for the time.
I don't see any other.
I don't either.
Just to clarify, Winds of Hope has been at our 50 Oliver Street location for 3 years, where we've had 0 incidents. I've never heard of any of these kind of issues. I believe before that, they were actually at the YMCA building at 18 Oliver Street for I don't know how many years before that. And I don't think they've ever had any issues with the substance abuse also. So I don't know if any can add to that or not.
Mr. Chairman, Jim Burke, before Vinny gets on, if he wants to chat, it's my understanding, and that's from discussions with Mr. Materano, that when they hire their screening and educational, they usually use the schools. They use classrooms in the schools. It wouldn't be done here in a 500 square foot structure. This is just secretarial and administrative. Educational workshops, as were done before, will be done again using the assistance of the Easton school system. And if Vinny wants to chime in.
Yes, if I may, Jim. Wings of Hope is a local institution that the YMCA has worked with, I think, almost since the beginning. And in fact, we are the financial agent for a federal grant that provides the resources for the work to be done. And the primary focus of the work is education for kids and families in the Easton public school system, so that the sessions and training are all in concert and fully supported by the local school system, if you will.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think we're all sensitive, to the issue, and also appreciate your work. So maybe just as far as to see how this fits into the project, and maybe we just have to look at our zoning in a little more detail to see, how different uses fit into it, to some of our either allowed or special permit uses. I think that would just kind of at least clarify the issue for all of us, and then we could hopefully.
Peter, if I may, what I was trying to say earlier is, if office space is a use, and health services is another use. So if they started to do some kind of health services, some kind of outreach and treatment, or even education, that's another discrete use, they would need to come before the planning board for site plan review and approval.
Yeah, it's just really the first that I've ever heard of it, in being a planning board member for some time. So yeah, I think just look at it a little more before,
yeah.
So we don't have much more to request from the applicant. the lighting plan. Does anyone think a lighting plan is necessary? It's not common that we don't require a lighting plan, but this is, 8 more out of 30 units. That's Chris, were you speaking?
I was just saying there's no change to the existing conditions for the lighting.
Yeah, I mean, I guess suppose the Y did operate, later in the evening, and as does the parking, the existing parking for the residents, right? So no change to that. All right, so it's, my suggestion is that we continue this for at least one more. To kind of, I'm interested in looking at that, the zoning consideration that was brought up, and maybe possibly could allow for time for the historical to have information on maybe a plan for them, but I'm not sure if that's if that'll happen or not. What are you guys thinking? Or I mean, if other members have other ideas, I'm open to those as well.
So I have a question, Stephanie. The uses permitted according to bylaws for misuse on this zone, we should be tabulated, right?
Should be, I'm sorry.
The use permitted by bylaws should be tabulated. We have a table that say,
Tabulated?
yeah, we have a table that says what.
Right.
That's kind of, yeah.
Right.
So we need to just read that, and anything that match that, they will come for an approval.
Right. Certainly the proposed use, which is office space, is an allowed use. That's a pretty low impact use.
No, I understand.
But
our decision is toward the future as well.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever will be permitted is according to bylaws in the future. If this decide to leave and they rent this or give it to someone else.
Right, and mixed use usually means commercial. It does not, or retail. It doesn't mean industrial use. Usually, but the board at some point, I mean, kind of separate and apart from this project, was concerned that a use might be allowed that it wasn't intended. That certainly would be something you'd want to look at and into for the future. But I think we definitely have a definition, because I did look this up.
I cannot find my bylaws. But.
So yeah, it just says a mixed use, a development that includes primary non-residential and primary residential uses on the same site.
All right, so board members, do you want to either, I think our options here are either to continue this if you have, I think wouldn't mind a little more information, or we would close the public hearing, at which point we can not receive any more information. What would you like to do?
So Peter, may I just ask, just for clarification, what other information the board is looking for?
I was going to look into those uses a little more, but that was my only idea, and I was a little more interested in how the architecture will eventually change. If I'm not saying I would keep it open indefinitely, pending more information on the architectural changes, but.
But I again, just so Sam knows, is there additional information you're looking for from the applicant?
Well, yeah, I guess more final architectural plans, really.
Okay.
It's not unusual that a special permit like this takes 2 meetings, so I don't feel like I'm holding up the progress, or what it would be called.
Peter, just for my clarification, so are you looking just forward to see if where historical has comments on this?
Yeah, well,
side?
Yeah, really just see at least what's your plan? Just to take what you have right now and say this is what we're going to do, and most likely.
Well, this is just our concept to see, you know, in condition with our P&S with the YMCA is that we need our approvals before we go forward. So we weren't gonna, you know, put a lot of money into this if we were gonna not go forward with it, you know, with full architecturals. That's why we had our architect do these renderings, giving us a really good idea of what it'll look like and how the units will lay out. They were based off the as-built plans that we had from the condo as-built.
Okay, yeah. So,
They're fairly
yeah,
accurate
so
dimensional
it's
wise.
possible there won't be a historical meeting. I'm just trying to understand what this process is, Sam or Stephanie. I'm not sure where you left that. Is there a historical meeting or not?
No, there will be. Again, it was scheduled for last Thursday because there was a problem with the Zoom meeting room. It didn't happen. The information that was provided for how to join the meeting was wrong. So it will be rescheduled, and Wayne was trying to find a date that was going to work for everyone so that we didn't encounter another problem, say with quorum.
Okay, yeah, I mean, so, you know, I mean, I grew up in the area and I went to school there, and my grandfather went to school there and played basketball in that gymnasium. So I sort of feel like I'd like to see what the, you know, more final proposal is for the architecture. So that's why I would prefer to keep the meeting open for another, at least another 2 weeks. But the other board members really have to say here.
I'm fine either way. If you want to wait, put it over to the next
If
meeting,
anyone
that's
wants to
fine.
make a motion, yeah. If you want to make a motion to continue.
Motion to continue the special permit to the next meeting.
Is there a second?
Anderson.
Okay, all in favor? DeShane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Illinois.
I'm going to actually abstain just in the event that there's any conflict with the architectural association I have with Anino.
Okay, so, well, we can talk about that later. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, so in that case, I think 3 is acceptable to, we had 4. Oh, then Amos, did you vote?
Yes, I did.
Okay, no, I didn't hear you. Okay, motion passes. We'll continue to the next meeting. All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, and that next meeting is, let me just, let's see, for everybody. It is September 13th.
What about August 30th?
Oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry, August 30th. Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, sir. Should we text Greg? I can text him right now.
I just sent him. There he is.
Okay, next time you people talk too much,
Huh?
I'm gonna say, remember Monday, August 16th.
I didn't talk that much. I let everyone else talk.
I didn't say anybody in particular. I just just remember, I now get an hour and 20 minutes of bonus time.
I tried to move things along towards the end, but yes.
That's fine, Greg, but not tonight.
I know. I meant to ask Suzanne to put it to the end, but I did. But anyways, all right, kids. Well,
just, my cat has been meowing like crazy at the store, so I have to let it outside. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
What a lame excuse. All right. So next up is a continued public hearing for 81 and 91 Summer Street for common driveway and an estate lot. So I imagine you have to call in.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Eric, I guess, or
Eric, yes.
And
Eric needs to let us know if there's someone else with him.
Evening. Good evening. So, is that Eric? Is that you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Anybody else, or is it just you?
Nope, just me tonight.
All right. So first, I just want to thank Eric and the members of the board for the site walk last week. It was very well attended, and I thought it was it was well served. At first I was looking at this project and I was a little leery, but then having been out there, I think it was a great example of a site work that paid off well. So anyways, thank you all for joining us. I know we all have jobs and this is voluntary, but we do appreciate it. So you have anything to say, Eric, or you want to?
I'll just give a quick recap. And just thank you, everyone. Site walk. I agree. This is one of those projects that looks maybe a little daunting, for lack of a better word. But when you get out in the field, you can really kind of put the pieces together a lot better. So I agree. I think it was well served. Just very quickly, since the last time we were here, we obviously had a site walk. Looking forward to what you folks have to say about that tonight. We also did provide a response to the staff comments, and I will let Stephanie speak to them on our own, but I think we got a pretty favorable follow-up report from her indicating most things have been satisfied, with the exception of the comments of the fire department, who we are actually scheduled to meet on site for a site walk tomorrow afternoon at 1 p.m. So we're very hopeful that we get you folks' comments tonight, tomorrow, and hopefully wrap this thing up.
Okay. Hey, so I just want to check. That was a little broken up with some buffering. Was everybody able to sufficiently understand what Eric was saying?
It's a site walk with the fire department.
Yeah, I think I got the gist of it. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I think I got a poor connection for a minute there.
Yeah, that's okay. That's is welcome to the age of COVID, I guess. So why don't we'll throw it around to the board. I wanted to quickly say right after the meeting, having seen it, I had two thoughts. One, the common driveway comes in and it feeds off to the three proposed houses. And I think it would make sense. I'm not a big fan of having three driveways like that parallel. I don't think it's an awful lot of pavement in the sensitive area. Doesn't really fit the rural character that we're charged with trying to maintain. So I think if we could, maybe extend the common driveway north and then at some point break off, or maybe even incorporate. We did this recently on another property. I know the fire department is always concerned with turnarounds and all. Maybe incorporate almost a roundabout, if you will, or a circular drive, or maybe not, but just something to reduce three parallel long driveways. Because they're going to just be what they are, and I think it can come out nicer. And then Stephanie and I were both on the same page. We looked at it, and on the western side, and I suspect some of the fellow board members felt the same, but of course we don't get to discuss this out there, so I wouldn't know. But on the western side, there was that new driveway that was being added, running right along the 50-foot buffer over. And so Stephanie and I talked after the meeting the next day, and we're both like, wouldn't it be nice if we could, under a Gesundheit, whoever that was, couldn't we eliminate that driveway and all the disruption of it and just have a fourth, have the common driveway serve all four lots. Now I know that's against the wording of the bylaw, but I thought, where there's a special permit, maybe, can we waive it? So I know Stephanie checked in with town council and said we couldn't. So just for my last bit, I would certainly be in favor if the board were to go ahead and approve this project. It's in similar fashion to where it's at with the two entrances off of Summer. Given the minimal cost and the minimal lead time, I certainly would be a proponent of recommending that or asking that the applicant perhaps applies to the ZBA for a variance to allow the one driveway, eliminating the one to the west. Because I think, I'll keep it short, you guys have had a long night, but it just ties into so many of the things that we're always working on. And I think it also could be beneficial to the neighbor, the abutter, less disruption, beneficial to the environment, and beneficial to the applicant with less cost. So Anyway, so those are my thoughts. I'll toss it out to any other board members that care to chime in.
And let me know if you need me to keep the screen up. The plan.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask just a clarification question?
Sure.
You said that town council says you cannot provide, the board cannot provide a waiver to go to 4. So the only mechanism to get that done would be to seek a variance. Is that, am I understanding that?
Right, correct. Stephanie, since you spoke with Jay, why don't you, I'll let
Yes.
you take this one.
Yes, he's saying there is, it's a special permit. It restricts the number of lots that can be served by a common driveway to 3. It doesn't provide, the language in the zoning doesn't provide for a waiver. So yes, it would have to get a variance from the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, and I'll just follow up that and say, I've had this discussion previously with my client. And frankly, that would be our preferred method. So if we felt there was support from the board to go that way, I don't think we'd have a big problem going to the zoning board of appeals and asking them for that variance.
Yeah, I mean, I think a mechanism, like I said, assuming we approve this plan in some form, I would recommend we approve it with both driveways since that meets our, or if, let me say that differently because I'm only one person. If we were to approve this with both driveways, I certainly, as one single member, support when it comes up for, review by comment, review for comment by boards for the CBA, writing a letter in favor. Because I think, in fact, I'd like to see us, this is an example, I think we should tweak the bylaw a little bit going forward, but we can't do that, obviously, before this project.
Sure.
Board members, you guys have any thoughts, comments, questions?
Yeah, how would that be different? What do we do at Hobart Lane? I'm trying to, that ended up actually had to be treated as a subdivision.
Is that, you mean, is that the one, was that Taylor's piece next to the
Yeah.
library?
Mm-hmm.
That was a paper road. Yeah, that was a subdivision that we waived. We waived construction requirements, which were allowed to.
The way that we,
the way
we handled that was we basically, we waived construction standards for
right
a subdivision, but it was filed and approved as a subdivision.
Right. This one, the thing is that, and Stephanie, correct me if I'm wrong, but where the bylaws, even though it's a special permit, specifically states serves 3 lots, and we're not allowed to waive that.
Right.
Right. And in his case, I'm just looking at Hobart. So in the case of Hobart, it was 3 lots? Must have been.
I think it was 2, wasn't it?
I think
there's an existing house. There was a new buildable lot.
Maybe it was at this. Maybe it was at the road had to be a subdivision because the lots needed frontage.
I think he came for a subdivision. He didn't come for.
But I don't think he could. It's been too long. But circumstances are slightly different, and I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Stephanie might be right. I think it was a frontage thing. Right?
And they didn't have frontage, so they couldn't have. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, just. So I like your idea. I just thought trying to.
In fact, we even toyed with. I said this to Stephanie. I'm like, well, maybe we just do it and see if anybody complains. But we both agreed that that would have been fun to live on the edge. We probably should take the legal route.
All right. So we can get back to this application, and I like your idea about the common driveway.
I walked the walk on this one, and the benefits of eliminating that driveway are many from the point of view of the benefits that you get.
Mm-hmm.
Not only the aesthetical part, the environmental aspect of it, the neighborhood, the neighbors, everything is crying for us to try to go that way and encourage the applicant to do so.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think certainly can't speak for the ZBA, but I think the history shown how they respond, well to our reasoning, if we lay it out. So if we, I'd hate to pull the plug on this and then have them go for a ZBA, go to ZBA and then come back. I think we could, if we were to approve this and then just.
The only real risk is that they have to pay for it, and then if it's if it's not approved, they can't go back and do the same thing, but that's
Right.
almost not really, why would they bother right there?
Exactly.
Yeah, I support the thoughts of the eliminating the west driveway and potentially redesigning the common driveway so it's not 3 parallel. I agree that could probably be cleaned up a little. Otherwise, I think it's a creative solution to the property.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that a common driveway would maybe require whatever turnaround that we allow on a, that, you know, that the fire department usually requests. I mean, if they don't need a turnaround or they're fine with a T, then, you know, that's the fire department's decision, right?
Well, I mean, ultimately, we're the planning board, and we have rules and regs and
Oh,
bylaws,
yeah.
and we certainly listen to it. But you know, sometimes the feedback coming in from different departments varies depending on the individual. So I always hesitate to certainly have respect for all the employees and departments in town. But you know, I you know, there's reasons we have all of our stuff is published. It's been vetted and it's been, you know, gone through a lot of public feedback. So I mean, I think, you know, here, because I'm drawing a circle, no one can see, but where those 3 driveways parallel.
Oh, wait a minute, I can,
If we, you know, if you were to basically just extend a single drive for a while, and then if we had to, you know, if there was some type of turnaround that had to be done, that my thought was, well, it becomes so large, maybe, we just recently did this somewhere. Remember we put a circle something? Oh, no, it was someone, we had
Way had a T. That's about 4 or 5 houses, right?
You consider, if you look at this shape, have a tree with branches, kind of. I think that's the idea. With the branches joined.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But you will be. Can you see?
like here and here.
Yeah. Can you see?
And then you could have down here because where's that area? It's right here, Eric, right?
That's
It's
correct.
already cleared.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
but
have-
if in the place where the branches join, you have a rotary, you have to turn around already.
so you mean like right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that based when Eric meets with the fire department and he sees what they're requiring, you know, for radiuses and that, then he can, you know, it might even make sense, Eric, after you have your meeting to reach out to Stephanie, or Stephanie and I, and, you know, show us what you're thinking, and maybe we can, you know, give you some guidance before you come back, just to expedite things, streamline.
Sure, I think that makes perfect sense. And like I said, I have that meeting with Captain Ziallo tomorrow at 1 o'clock. So I'm sure I'll get some really good feedback out of that. So I should be able to turn something around for you guys to take a look at, even informally, hopefully by the end of the week.
Okay, great.
Yeah, right. So we need a plan, and then we need a fire department comment, right, for that?
Yeah.
I think the principle, Eric, is to reduce the amount of pavement.
Yes.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, and on that particular side too, I mean, I agree with everything that has been said up to this point. The one other question that I had, and just I don't think it's come up since I've been on the board, is how frequently are estate lots created not specifically for development purposes? You know, this lot already has a house on it, which just struck me as unusual. Creative, not saying I don't, you know, wouldn't approve of it. I'm just curious.
Bob, and Greg will correct me but the bylaw specifically allows you to create an estate lot from an existing lot. And generally for the purpose of the property owner being able to do this, create other lots.
Yeah, with an existing structure, to answer your question, I can think of at least.
We've had,
but I think we've had at least a couple, you know, in the last.
Because I'm looking at the bylaw right now, and it's not clear to me what it means, and that's why I was curious if there was some precedent for doing it where the estate lot itself is not going to be subject to further development.
Yeah, we definitely have had. Yes. Yep.
That I would have, you know, I'd prefer it if there were a variance here and we could do it without that. You know, I think it just avoids some questions of drainage and everything everybody else has said, but you know, I'd go along with it either way.
Bob, furthermore, given the situation with land for development and houses, I think this is going to happen more often now.
Could be right.
And if that is the case, we need to probably think about, make it clear what are the boundaries and the limitations.
I mean, I guess, you know, one negative comment would be that if I lived in that house that this is all encompasses, I wouldn't be very, you know, I don't know how happy I would be with 2 special permits and some very, you know, odd, I don't know, lot shapes, I suppose.
Some very odd what?
Oh, the, you know, lot shapes and sizes, but yeah, you know, 2 special permits, a variance, you know, yeah. But just another side of it that I like to
Yeah, I
consider.
mean, right, no, I understand, but I mean, keep in mind the variance here, I think, it sounds like we're all on the same page. I look at this, I'm like, oh, this just seems silly to have to do this thing on the western side, especially, you know, given how Easton.
See, with that, I just denied one of the special permits and not let it go through. So I mean, that's the other side. So.
Greg, there is one member of the public that's had their hand raised.
Okay.
It's, and again, it's the person who is labeled as member. If you could please state your name. And oh, it's Mary. That's right. This is Mary. I'm sorry. Mary, you need to unmute yourself. Mary is the abutter at 85 Summer Street.
Still muted.
Yeah.
Talking is permitted.
All right, so.
Oh, there you go.
All right, here.
Hey, Mary, if you could just identify yourself for the record with your address.
Yep,
please.
Mary Lynch, 85 Summer Street in Easton.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've been listening to the discussion. My first question would be regarding that meeting tomorrow with the fire department. Could I attend that?
If I may through the chair, I don't take exception to that at all. That's fine.
And where is the meeting held?
That meeting is going to be on site at 81 Summer Street at 1 p.m.
Okay, I'll try to make it.
Okay.
So you were discussing the driveway or the common driveway going to the left of the boundary. So it sounds like right now that will not be taking place. Is that correct?
Well, we are, given our bylaw, the way it's structured, we would have to have that driveway to approve it. So what I was proposing is, if the board was in favor of this project, was to approve it in its current form and then ask the applicant, and it's been, his rep tonight says that they would love to do this, go before the zoning board of appeals to ask for a variance not to have to do that common driveway, just to have the one driveway to the right of your existing house.
Okay. So, but that driveway has already been started. So would the fill that be, if it's not continued, would that fill that has already been cleared, would that be, you know, how would that be rectified? Would you just leave it the way it is and, you know, let nature do its course and growing back whatever it was there?
If I may, through the chair, the clearing the abutter is talking about had to do with when we performed test pits back on the site. The contractor cleared a little bit more of a way in there than they were supposed to. As part of our approval with the Conservation Commission, we have a full buffer zone restoration plan that has to happen on that lot in the area that was cleared. So we're going to be replanting everything that was cleared out there.
Okay. All right.
Eric, if I could just jump in for a second. So Eric, you have a plan that shows that?
We do have a plan that shows that it's
Why
actually.
don't, if you don't mind, just if you could bring that to the meeting tomorrow, just in case Mary's able to make it, then maybe you could just show it to her.
Absolutely.
Always good to inform the neighbors.
Maybe even on a future plan that we might approve, that would maybe constitute a landscape buffer on the planning board plan. That way we've sort of done our part on that side.
Sure.
We have a plan that's a part of the notice of intent, so we can just, bring that in here for the record too, if we have to.
Okay. All right, see, let's see. Okay, so I did hear all the discussion before I got on, and so you're now proposing to leave the existing 3 driveways, the common driveway that goes up to the right of the property and kind of goes over to the left. And then there'll be those 3 houses in the back with some kind of a rotary. Is that what you were talking about?
Well, instead of having the 3 driveways that parallel each other, we're looking either just to have one driveway that extends further and then branches off to the houses, sort of like the tree that Amos mentioned, or depending on what the fire department is looking for access.
All right.
Maybe, a large circular driveway that the 3 would come off of. But a reduction in pavement would be the key.
And the existing stone walls that are bordering the 85 Summer Street property, they will remain intact during this process, correct? That border the property, they will remain intact, correct? They won't be disturbed.
That is correct. Those stone walls actually delineate the property boundary between 85 and 81.
Right.
Stephanie, do you see where the notation is that said right there? Yes, going up to the north and then taking that corner and going to the right. Those will not be disturbed.
So are we still here?
I think we all lost volume there.
Okay.
All bad?
Yeah,
I don't think anyone's talking.
Okay. Well, Eric was talking, then he cut out. So then we sort of all went silent.
So it's I just want to have it confirmed because it was a cost to us that we put in the stone wall that it will stay intact.
Yeah, Eric, if you didn't hear him, he confirmed that, because those are property lines that they're going to stay intact.
All right.
Anything else?
And this is strictly residential properties, correct?
Absolutely, yes. Single family, yeah.
No, I guess that's all I have.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. We appreciate the input, and I hope you're able to make it tomorrow with Eric and the fire captain, deputy.
Captain Yellow. And Mr. Strange, may I just add too, for the abutter, if for some reason you can't make it tomorrow, Stephanie has all of my contact information. I'm sure if you reached out to her, she'd be glad to put you in contact directly so we can schedule another time to meet if that's appropriate.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate that.
Yep.
All right, so I guess if nobody else has anything to add, and I don't see any other members of the public, we should just continue this to our next meeting, right? Any last thoughts, board members or Stephanie, Eric?
Nope, I'm good.
If not, I will entertain a motion to continue.
What was the date for the next meeting?
That was August 30th.
Okay, motion to continue to August 30th.
That's in second.
Without seconded it.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Jan, aye.
That's an aye.
Anderson, aye.
Alferic, aye.
Okay, thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Deb, are you calling in on a flip phone from 1989?
I know why.
It just sounds like it. Sounds like you're talking into a coffee can. Or at least
Oh, it might be because I have my headphones on, but.
Oh, right.
microphone
Let's
through
see.
the
Where'd the
headphones,
agenda
maybe?
go? Maybe. I don't know. I'm just always looking. Okay, so we have a vote to authorize Stephanie, the Planning and Economic Development Director, to sign documents on behalf of the board. Stephanie, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I was looking at this recently, just because a question came up regarding the vote from the Conservation Commission, and not that anything was not done correctly there. And I saw that when the board voted for this back last year, right after the lockdown was announced, that it covered subdivision decisions, but it did not cover anything covered by Chapter 40A, which are your zoning decisions, your special permits. So this corrects that. I think we have a copy of it here, right, Suzanne? Of the vote.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I'll quickly go through that. So I talked with Jay and he said, just get the board to vote and so that the vote includes that reference, and we'll get that recorded at the Registry of Deeds if the board so votes. And this certainly would just be in play until we can meet again in person and everyone
Is there
can.
something, can you just read it to us or just?
Yes, I can. So, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not sharing it.
No, that's okay. You can just read it. I'll read it quick.
So let's see, it says, we are the members of the planning board as aforesaid, and that at an August 16th, 2021 open meeting of the planning board duly held, at which adequate alternative means of public access were made available pursuant to the act extending certain COVID-19 measures, etc. I'm not going to read all of that, but that's the governor's act that was in effect. Well, in effect, moved to authorize the Town of Easton Planning and Economic Development Director, presently Stephanie Danielson, and her successors, whomever they may be, to physically sign approval not required in subdivision plans. And then it went on to say pursuant to General Law Chapter 41, Sections 81P and or General Law Chapter 41, Section 81X. And that's where it ended. It went on to just then say, on behalf of individual commissioners, we've added and General Law Chapter 40A, etc.
I make a motion to update our authorization to include 48.
That's in second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Kane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Anderson, aye.
Alfaric, aye.
All right. And a sneeze. Let's see. Don't know who that was, but Gesundheit. We have one request for comment, ZBA. It was for Roach Brothers Way, for 2 signs on the corner of the emergency veterinarian clinic.
So this is the building in the front on the right, if you're looking at it.
Yeah, where the Dunkin' Donuts is. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, they showed up. It's on frontage on 2 roads, on Washington and on Roach Brothers Way. And there is, if anybody needed to see, if you look under other info on Permitize, there's a sign, or if you want me, I can share my screen quickly if someone didn't see it and needs to see it.
Okay, I thought I did just share my screen. Do you not see it?
We can see your screen.
Oh yeah, there you go. So
The actual sign approval comes back to us. Is that correct?
yeah, because
Yeah,
where it's
okay.
internally
No,
illuminated.
just the variance here for sign on both
Yep.
sides.
This is just a sign for both corners. Any opposition or support?
I make a motion to support it.
That's in second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of a recommendation to support? Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
That's an aye.
Anderson, aye.
Kevin, aye.
Alfaric, aye.
And that's unanimous. All right. And last but not least, minutes.
I was in Maine, so I did not have a chance to review.
Yeah, Peter, that's no excuse.
I know it's actually not. It wasn't.
Did anybody review?
Actually, no, I did know because it was on my
Do we
phone.
need more
and I-
time? We can push these to the next meeting.
No, I did scan them. And I didn't see anything that needed to be changed.
Nothing stuck out to me.
Motion to approve the minutes for July 26th.
Shane, second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Aye.
Heather, aye.
Sarah guy.
Great. Sounds good. Well, who wants to send us home? Who would like to make a motion to adjourn?
I can't.
Motion to adjourn. Stetson.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second from Mr. Anderson. All those in favor, Strange eye.
Shane, aye.
Stetson, aye.
Sarah guy.
All right. Planning board, thank you very much. Enjoy some lovely weather. Thank you, Easton. Thank you, ECAT. Thank you, Stephanie. Have a good night, folks.
Good night.
Good night.